The ballroom glittered like it had something to prove. Crystal chandeliers spilled warm light across marble floors, and every laugh sounded practiced, measured, expensive. I stood near the far wall, fingers loosely folded in front of me, watching my family celebrate a future that didn't include me in any meaningful way. This was my brother Jason's engagement party. According to my mother, it was the most important night our family had hosted in years. According to everyone else in the room, it was proof that the Harrington name still mattered. Jason stood tall near the center, arm wrapped around his fiancée, Claire. She was radiant in ivory silk, smiling like she had already won. People gravitated toward them naturally, offering congratulations, compliments, envy. I stayed where I was, unnoticed, like a coat left behind after winter. My mother spotted me and frowned. She crossed the room with purpose, heels clicking sharply. "Lena," she said under her breath, forcing a smile for anyone watching. "Why are you hiding over here?" "I'm not hiding," I replied calmly. "I'm just standing." She glanced at my dress, her eyes lingering too long. "You couldn't have worn something brighter. This isn't a funeral." "I like black," I said. She sighed, already tired of me. "Try to look happy. Tonight is about Jason." Tonight was always about Jason. She turned away before I could respond, immediately warm again as she greeted Claire's parents. I exhaled slowly. Years ago, I learned that reacting only fed the fire. Silence was safer. A waiter passed with a silver tray of champagne flutes. I took one, mostly to keep my hands busy. The glass was cold, the bubbles rising fast, like they were trying to escape. I didn't drink it. From across the room, I heard laughter erupt near the wine display. A special table had been set up beside the stage, spotlighting a single bottle placed on velvet. People gathered around it like it was art. "That bottle alone costs more than most cars," someone said. I recognized Jason's voice. "Yeah," Claire's parents insisted. "Said it sets the tone." Another laugh followed. I watched from a distance, my eyes narrowing slightly. The bottle was tall, dark, sealed with deep red wax. The label was aged, handwritten, unmistakable. I knew that wine. Claire noticed me watching and raised an eyebrow. She leaned toward Jason and whispered something. He glanced over, smirked, and then waved me over with 2 fingers, like he was calling a server. Reluctantly, I walked toward them. "Careful," Jason said loudly as I approached. "That's not boxed wine." A few people laughed. Claire smiled sweetly. "Jason says you don't really drink wine, Lena." "I drink good wine," I said evenly. Her smile twitched. "This isn't the kind you buy at a grocery store." I stepped closer to the table, my gaze fixed on the bottle. "No," I said softly. "It isn't." Jason scoffed. "Don't tell me you suddenly know vintages." "I know enough." My father appeared beside us, already annoyed. "Lena, don't start. This wine was a gift. Very rare. Very expensive." I nodded. "I can tell." Claire crossed her arms. "How?" I reached out, stopping just short of touching the bottle. "The year. The vineyard. The seal. Even the storage temperature is correct." Silence followed, brief but sharp. Jason laughed it off. "She Googled it." I didn't argue. Because tonight wasn't about proving what I knew. It was about timing. I slipped my phone from my clutch and checked the screen discreetly. No new messages yet. That was fine. Everything was moving exactly as planned. Claire leaned closer, lowering her voice. "You know," she said, "it must be hard watching your younger brother succeed while you're still figuring things out." I met her eyes. "I figured things out a long time ago." She smiled, satisfied, convinced she'd won something. Across the room, my mother raised her glass for a toast. The music softened. Conversations faded. To love, she announced. To family. And to a future built on trust. Glasses clinked. I didn't raise mine. Instead, I checked my phone again. A single message appeared. On our way. I slipped the phone back into my clutch, my heartbeat steady, controlled. They still thought I was invisible. They still thought I didn't belong. And they had no idea that this entire evening existed because I allowed it to. The first sign that something was wrong came when the music stopped mid-note. 1 second, violins floated through the air, and the next, silence fell so suddenly it felt physical. Conversations stalled. Laughter died unfinished. Every head turned toward the ballroom entrance. 2 men stepped inside, dressed in dark suits that didn't match the celebration. Their posture was rigid, alert, the kind of stillness that carried authority. Behind them walked a woman with her hair pulled tight, a badge clipped clearly at her waist. Claire's fingers tightened around Jason's arm. My mother's smile froze. The woman scanned the room once, then her eyes landed on me. She didn't hesitate. Lena Harrington, she called. Yes, I answered, my voice calm as I stepped forward. I'm Special Agent Rebecca Mills with the Federal Financial Crimes Division. A ripple of confusion spread through the room. Someone laughed nervously. Someone else whispered my name. Jason stared at me. What is this? Agent Mills turned slightly so everyone could see her badge. We're conducting an active investigation involving financial fraud, wire transfers, and identity theft connected to multiple individuals present this evening. Claire's father scoffed. This is absurd. Agent Mills raised a tablet. Funds were transferred from a United States account to an offshore entity registered under Hayes Consulting 23 minutes ago. The transaction was initiated on this property. Every sound vanished. Jason's face drained of color. Claire. She shook her head quickly. I don't know what she's talking about. Agent Mills didn't look at her. Claire Hayes, you and your parents are named in an ongoing federal investigation. My mother stepped forward. You must be mistaken. Our family would never be involved in anything criminal. Agent Mills finally glanced at her. Ma'am, the evidence disagrees. 2 more agents entered, positioning themselves quietly near the exits. Guests shifted uncomfortably, clutching purses, glancing at each other like the room itself had become dangerous. Jason turned to me slowly. Lena, he said, his voice shaking. Tell them this is some kind of mistake. I met his eyes. It isn't. His mouth fell open. You did this. I stopped it, I said. There's a difference. Claire stepped toward me, her composure cracking. You jealous little. Enough, Agent Mills said sharply. She turned her tablet toward Claire's parents. Shell companies. False investment portfolios. Retirement accounts drained across 5 states. You've been operating under different names for years. Claire's mother collapsed into a chair. My father sat down heavily, as if his legs had given out without permission. Jason backed away from Claire, his hand slipping from hers. You said it was legitimate. Claire looked at him desperately. I was protecting us. You were lying, he said, his voice barely audible. Agent Mills nodded to her team. Claire Hayes, Montgomery Hayes, Patricia Hayes, you are being detained pending arrest. Handcuffs appeared. The sound of metal closing echoed louder than the silence before it. Claire screamed my name as they took her arms. You planned this. Yes, I said quietly. Because you planned to steal from my family. Tears streaked her face. You think you're better than us? No, I said. I think I'm honest. They led her away, her heels scraping against marble-like punctuation marks at the end of a sentence no one wanted to read. The room erupted into whispers. Some guests avoided my gaze. Others stared openly, as if I had transformed into someone dangerous. My mother turned on me. How could you do this here? I didn't raise my voice. Because this is where they were going to do it. Jason sank into a chair, hands gripping his hair. I loved her. I know, I said, softer now. Agent Mills approached me once the arrests were complete. Thank you for your cooperation. The wire transfer was clean. Perfect documentation. That was the goal, I replied. She nodded once. You saved a lot of people tonight. Around us, the illusion of celebration lay in ruins. Empty glasses. Wilted flowers. A future that no longer existed. My father looked at me, his eyes filled with something I'd never seen before. Regret. You knew, he said. Yes. And you didn't say anything. I tried, I replied. You didn't listen. Silence settled between us, heavy and deserved. The agents escorted the remaining guests out gently, professionally. No one argued. No one lingered. When the ballroom finally emptied, only my family remained. The chandeliers still glittered, but now they felt cold, indifferent. Jason looked up at me. Why didn't you tell me who you really were? I exhaled slowly. You never asked. Outside, police lights painted the windows red and blue. Inside, the truth finally had room to breathe. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the one being judged. I was the one who had seen everything coming. The silence after the last guest left felt heavier than the chaos that came before it. The ballroom, once alive with music and ambition, now echoed with the soft hum of overhead lights. Chairs sat crooked. Napkins lay abandoned. The celebration had collapsed into evidence of how fragile illusions really were. Jason hadn't moved from his chair. His elbows rested on his knees, his hands locked together, knuckles white. My mother paced near the stage, her heels clicking sharply, as if movement alone could undo what had happened. My father stood near the wine table, staring at the bottle that had once impressed everyone. No one spoke for a long moment. Finally, my mother broke. You humiliated us, she said, her voice trembling with anger and disbelief. You destroyed your brother's future in front of everyone. I turned to her slowly. I stopped his future from being stolen. She laughed bitterly. You think prison and scandal are better? I think truth is better, I replied. Jason looked up then, his eyes red. You knew for how long? 3 months, I said honestly. His shoulders sagged. 3 months, he repeated. And you watched me plan a life with her. I watched you ignore every warning, I said gently. Just like you always did. He flinched. My father finally turned. What do you actually do, Lena? The question hung in the air, years overdue. I investigate financial crimes, I said. Privately. Corporations hire me when regulators move too slowly. Governments consult me when money disappears. My mother stared. Since when? Since I stopped waiting for approval, I said. Jason shook his head. All this time, we thought you were barely getting by. That was easier for everyone, I replied. My father's voice was quiet. The wine. Yes, I said. I approved the purchase. I paid for the venue too. My mother's knees buckled slightly, and she grabbed the back of a chair. You paid for your own humiliation. I met her gaze. I paid to expose a crime. Jason stood abruptly. So this was all a trap. For them, I said. Not for you. He looked away. It feels like it was for me. I softened. I tried to warn you. You laughed. You told me I was jealous. He swallowed hard. The door opened again, and Agent Mills stepped back inside, alone this time. I just wanted to let you know, she said, the assets have already been frozen. No one else will be hurt. Thank you, I replied. She glanced at my family. You should be proud of her. My mother looked down. Agent Mills left quietly, closing the door behind her. The sound echoed like finality. Jason rubbed his face. I don't know who you are anymore. I stepped closer. I'm still your sister. I just stopped pretending to be small. My father cleared his throat. We failed you. The words were unexpected. They cracked something open inside me. You didn't see me, he continued. And that was our mistake. My mother finally sat down, her anger drained, leaving exhaustion behind. All those years, she whispered. You never needed us. I did, I said. Just not the way you wanted. Jason looked up at me again. What happens now? That depends on you, I replied. You heal. You rebuild. Without lies. He nodded slowly. Outside, the flashing lights were gone. The night had settled into something quiet, reflective. I walked toward the wine table and lifted the bottle everyone had mocked me for noticing. I turned it gently in my hands, then set it back down. I'll have them donate it, I said. It shouldn't be open tonight. No one argued. As we walked out of the ballroom together, the air felt different. Heavy, but honest. For the first time, my family walked beside me instead of ahead of me. And even though nothing could undo what had been revealed, something fragile had begun to form in the aftermath. Respect. Not because I demanded it, but because I finally earned it without asking. The weeks that followed felt unreal, like waking up after a long illness and realizing the world had kept moving without you. Headlines came and went. Names were printed, then replaced by new scandals. What happened at the engagement party became a quiet rumor, then a cautionary tale, then nothing at all. For my family, the silence was louder. Jason moved out of the apartment he had shared with Claire. He stayed with a friend for a while, then found a small place of his own. He stopped wearing tailored suits. Started wearing jeans again. The kind he used to wear before he believed success was something you married into. My parents withdrew from their social circle. Invitations slowed. Calls stopped. For the first time, they were alone with each other and with the truth. They didn't blame me anymore. That surprised everyone, including me. One evening, my father called and asked if I would come over for dinner. Just the three of us. No guests. No performance. I agreed. The house looked the same, but it felt different. Quieter. Smaller. My mother had cooked instead of catering. She fussed in the kitchen while my father set the table himself. We ate slowly. I read everything, my father said eventually. About the case. About what you do. I nodded. You were always watching, my mother said softly. We just didn't notice. I learned early, I replied. Someone had to. She reached for her water glass, her hands unsteady. We thought we were protecting you by pushing you to be less difficult. I met her eyes. You were protecting yourselves. She didn't argue. After dinner, my father poured 3 glasses of wine. Nothing expensive. Nothing rare. To clarity, he said. We clinked glasses. Jason called later that night. He sounded different. Lighter. I started therapy, he said. I'm trying to figure out why I needed to believe her. That takes courage, I told him. I learned it from you, he said quietly. The call ended, and I sat alone in my apartment, the city humming outside my window. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was holding my breath. A month later, I received a package. No return address. Inside was a simple frame. Behind the glass sat a photograph from the engagement party, taken before everything unraveled. In the corner of the image, almost unnoticed, stood me. Calm. Still. Watching. Tucked behind the photo was a note in my father's handwriting. We see you now. I set the frame on my shelf and stepped back. That night, I opened a bottle of wine. Ordinary. Honest. I poured a glass and stood by the window, watching headlights move like quiet promises through the dark. Power, I realized, wasn't about being loud. Or admired. Or chosen. It was about knowing the truth and standing by it when everyone else looked away. Weeks turned into months. Life settled into a new rhythm. I took new cases. Helped new people. Quietly dismantled lies before they could destroy families like mine. Sometimes I thought about that night. About how easily everything could have gone differently if I had stayed silent. But silence had never protected me. One afternoon, Jason stopped by unannounced. He looked healthier. Steadier. I just wanted to say thank you, he said. Not for saving me. But for respecting me enough to tell the truth. I smiled. That's what family is supposed to do. As he left, I felt something close to peace. Not forgiveness. Not closure. Something stronger. Acceptance. I poured another glass of wine and raised it, not to the past, but to the quiet strength it took to survive it. And if you've ever been underestimated, ignored, or dismissed, remember this. The quiet ones see everything. And when the moment comes, they never miss. If this story stayed with you, share your thoughts below. Like this video if you believe truth always finds its way out, and subscribe to Revo Tales for more unforgettable stories.